Mr. Chairman, it backfired, didn't it, Mr. Epstein?
Yes, sir.
It backfired, didn't it? Welcome to Critical Coverage Channel. Jim Jordan just put the entire lawfare strategy against Trump on blast, and today we're breaking down exactly what went down in this explosive hearing. The Democrats have tried everything, from false dossiers to politically motivated indictments, but the American people see right through it. Let's get into it.
The gentleman from New York, our colleague on the other side, talked about he'd trust 12 jurors in New York, but the real jury was the 330 million Americans. I mean, we, the people, are the ultimate jury in our great country. And you think about what did I love the list you put together, I think on page 1 or 2 here of your testimony, but it was the dossier, false dossier that they took to a secret court to get a warrant to spy on a presidential campaign. That wasn't enough. The Mueller investigation, they do all the Trump-Russia Mueller investigation, finds no collusion, no coordination, none whatsoever. Then they raid his home, part of the Jack Smith investigation, Alvin Bragg, Fonnie Willis, the other Jack Smith investigation, the 14th Amendment. And the American people saw through it all. Saw through it all because it was lawfare. I mean, the Democrats' argument seems to me today to be, criticizing lawfare is worse than the lawfare itself.
Lawfare, the use of the legal system to target political opponents. We've seen it before, but never on this scale. Jim Jordan just exposed how this is being used as a weapon against Trump, and guess what? It's not working. In fact, it's backfiring spectacularly. When you strip away the media spin, it's clear. This isn't about justice, it's about stopping Trump at any cost. Now let's talk about a name you need to know, Matthew Colangelo.
Tell me this, part of this lawfare and some of the details, who's Matthew Colangelo?
Matthew Colangelo was an acting associate attorney general in the Garland Department of Justice, who then moved to the Manhattan DA's office to work on the Bragg prosecution.
What did he do before he was at the Department of Justice? Where did Matthew Colangelo work prior to that?
I don't recall.
I think it was the New York Attorney General's office, wasn't it?
Makes sense.
Tish James's office. So here's a guy who worked for Tish James, then worked for the Biden-Garland Justice Department, and then Alvin Bragg says, we want him to work for us, and according to media, he came to work for Alvin Bragg for what reason? I think you put it in your testimony.
Yeah, he obviously was motivated by the case against President Trump.
Yeah, to jumpstart their investigation, I think is the term that was used.
Who is he? Well, he used to work for the Biden DOJ. Before that, he was in Letitia James's office, the same New York Attorney General who campaigned on going after Trump. And now, he magically lands in Alvin Bragg's office just in time to jumpstart their case against Trump. Coincidence? I think not. This isn't about enforcing the law, it's about bending it for political gain. Jim Jordan asked a simple question. Did the Biden DOJ communicate with Alvin Bragg about Trump? Merrick Garland said no, but leaked records say otherwise. Turns out there were 36 records of communication between Bragg's office and the DOJ. So, either Garland doesn't know what's going on in his own department, or he's lying. Either way, the corruption is undeniable.
In the press, and we asked for any communications between Alvin Bragg and the Biden Justice Department, and they said, we've looked and we can't find any. But you disagree with that. You disagree with what Mr. Garland told this committee, the House Judiciary Committee. You disagree with that. Tell me why you disagree with that.
Well, it's not just a question of disagreement, it's a question of fact. The New York Manhattan DA's office let America First Legal know that there were 36 responsive records.
So when Merrick Garland told this committee we can't find anything, that wasn't accurate, was it?
I'll let this committee make that inference, but it would seem so.
Wasn't accurate based on what Alvin Bragg told the court, right?
Correct.
Wow, well, go figure. So we'd like that information. That's going to be, I think, the next thing we ask the Attorney General Bondi, if we can get access to some of those 36 responsive records that you talked about. Now, Mr. Terwilliger, this legislation that we're talking about, where you can take the case to federal court when you got some state local prosecutor coming after a federal official, it's not just for Republicans, is it?
It's certainly not. And in fact, both as to formers and as to the reinstalling the substantive scope, expanded scope that Congress intended going back to at least 2011, I think every former official of the Biden administration would cheer you on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as important for if some prosecutor in Arkansas, Oklahoma, some red state decides for whatever reason he's going to, I would assume he'd do it based on the facts and the evidence, but let's say it's maybe a little shaky. Maybe not. Maybe it's a great case. But still, we're saying, okay, to the chief of staff President Biden, Mr. Zients, if they're coming after you, you can move that to federal court. You don't have to go into some state court in a red state. You can go to federal court. It applies across the board because we want equal treatment under the law in this great country.
So true, Mr. Jordan. And the fact of the matter is that I really would urge, particularly your colleagues on the other side of the aisle on this committee, to go back and look at what those two Democrat-appointed presidential judges said in the 11th Circuit case. They recognized just how perniciously dangerous it is. What is a chief of staff supposed to do when the president says, I want you to set up a phone call, I need to talk to so-and-so? Oh, wait a minute. Am I going to get in trouble with Fonnie Willis because I do this?
Yeah.
It's absurd.
No, it's absurd. That's absurd. And just the overall attack on executive privilege, for goodness sake. And this goes clear back to George Washington, something we have honored. And the people most close to the president are the White House counsel and his chief of staff, and they've always had that privilege there until now. In their effort to get President Trump, they said, we're going to violate something that's been around since Washington, and they did this. And what we're saying is, let's at least fix it so you can go to federal court, fix part of it, so you can go to a jury that's different than some local prosecution, some jury at a local level.
Yes, sir. These are quintessential federal questions that have to be brought into federal court.
Here's the real danger. What happens when lawfare becomes the norm? Today it's Trump, but tomorrow it could be any political figure who steps out of line. Imagine a Republican prosecutor in a red state going after Biden or any Democrat. Would the media be celebrating that? Of course not. The hypocrisy is off the charts. Jim Jordan exposed the truth. Lawfare isn't about justice, it's about power, and the American people aren't buying it. The question is, will we allow this to continue? Will we stand by as the justice system is turned into a political weapon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. The fight for the truth is just getting started.